And welcome to the Movie Madhouse. I'm Rob.
I'm James.
And Jason's not here yet. But
I'm Benner from Black Fawn Distro.
Yeah, we got an uber special guest today. How you doing, Benner?
Thanks for having me. Good, man. Just wound down a busy week last week and had a bit of a long weekend and then right back at it this week, right? So,
were you super busy or did you actually get a break this long weekend?
A little bit of a break, but some projects around the house and that sort of thing. So I'm as busy as ever, put it that way. So
that's good.
But a bit sore today, yeah.
Have things picked up for you guys since some of the relaxations of the rules and stuff?
A little bit for sure. Retail stores are open now, so that's a good thing. Obviously, everything's a little bit more muted than it was before the pandemic, obviously. But obviously the lack of conventions and that sort of thing, with most of those getting pushed till 2021, that was a big source of what we did in the summer, and so that's been challenging. But all things considered, it's really just I feel like everyone's kind of in the same boat. Everyone's sort of facing the same challenges, and I do feel that things are getting a little bit back to normal. But again, with the pandemic, there's a lot of thoughts on second waves and that sort of thing. So everyone's sort of in the same boat, like I mentioned. And it's been challenging to kind of figure out how to keep going, and also how to, we look at new releases, like we're kind of moving more towards digital stuff rather than physical, just for now, just because that convention circuit isn't there, and also people don't have as much disposable cash as they used to. Let's say last year, a lot of people are in a tough spot, and we obviously want to recognize that too. With our retail channels opening up again and things sort of moving, it took a while for things to start thawing out, and the river to start flowing again. But we're doing okay.
Good stuff. That's good to hear. Are you got any titles that you're peeking at for distribution?
Nothing I can say right now. We're working on a couple things, and a couple of pretty exciting things too. So, but we've sort of hunkered down during the months off. Like, we certainly didn't sit around and watch Netflix for 4 or 5 months. We've been working hard on a lot of things. So, between Black Fawn Films and Black Fawn Distro, there's a lot of stuff in the works. So, I wish I could tell you more. I hate saying that, but yeah, until it's official, we gotta hold off. But we'll hopefully have some news for you soon.
Totally understand. So you weren't one of those people sitting there watching Tiger King?
I was. Yeah, I watched Tiger King because everyone was talking about it, and I actually threw that on one day, and I said, okay, so let's watch this. So myself and my girlfriend kind of sat down and we said, okay, let's watch this Tiger King. Everyone's talking about it. And we watched the first episode, then we watched the second episode, then we watched the third episode, and then we crushed the whole series in a day. Because we had nothing to do, right? Like, we were just sitting at home. So, and it's so addictive that but that sounds like doesn't that feel like 2 years ago now? Like,
yeah,
Tiger King came out?
Yeah. It literally does. And it was March, right? Mm-hmm. I think it was March or April.
I'd love to see the viewing numbers on that if Netflix ever released them, just to see how many people were crushing that series.
Yeah. One of the things, I went to Studio Press Comics and picked up our CKX comic book that was supposed to come out in April. But we were talking with him, and he said, "Do you remember conventions in the old days?" And then we stopped and went, "Wow, that was 6 months ago."
Yeah.
Legit 6 months ago, when it was normal.
Well, I think we didn't have we kind of had our conventions last year, but we didn't really have any this year. It's not like they started and stopped. It just, we kind of came out of winter and sort of said, "Oh, great! Like, we're all gearing up for everything," and then obviously everything just locked down, right? So I think it seems a lot longer. I think it's going to seem a lot weirder too when things when we get back to going to like concerts or conventions or any sort of big gathering, sporting events, anything like that. Because we're going to hit winter, like, it's already September, right? So we're going to be in winter in about 6 weeks, probably, right? And once that hits, it's going to feel like we're going to be in lockdown anyway, right? Because everyone's going to be inside for winter, and then we'll get back to it. Hopefully in 2021, it's going to feel like it's like 2 years, right?
Yeah,
or at least from my perspective, it will. Yeah.
But people are it'll be like they're releasing the ducks from a pen. It'll just be whoosh, and they'll be flocking to festivals. They'll be flocking to conventions, and
yeah, I've got I had a couple pairs of tickets for a couple shows this year, a couple concerts, and they've been pushed to 2021, and now they're saying they may even be pushed to 2022.
Holy.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you do though? You just keep those tickets, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. Jumping. Well, since it seems COVID has been like the ultimate villain, why don't we jump into our topic?
Sure.
Nice segue, right?
Very nice.
Absolutely.
As the guest, Benner, we will start with you. Number 10. What is your
my number 10 villain of all time? So how do you guys usually do this? Do you want to lead into who it is, or?
Oh, your choice. We do that sometimes, or sometimes we just blurt it out.
Okay, so my number 10 villain of all time has to be Captain Spaulding from House of a Thousand Corpses. Devil's Rejects.
Nice.
If you can see him, I got a thing. Where is it? Right here, signed by Sid Haig in my office. I just love the character. I think he's just like, I think it's Rob. Like, I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan, both from his music and his film career. For the most part, I mean, I think for his film career, Rob's had some hits and some misses, but ultimately, I feel like that's the best character he's ever written. And I just like everything about him. I like how crazy he is, how cartoony he is. And obviously he's got this sense of like, I mean, Sid Haig had some great comedic timing with that role.
Yes.
And it's probably like, I don't want to discount the rest of his career and say it's his best role, but I found it to be his best role personally. And I just felt it brought so much of that, like Rob Zombie's sort of like aesthetic to the rest of the world that character inhabits. So it just, like I said, it's this combination of like cartoony, unrealistic, like caricature, crossed with like this very realistic, sadistic, violent world that he kind of lives in. So I don't know. I just think it's the perfect fit. And yeah, he's my top 10 pick.
I think he's good in that particular film, House of a Thousand Corpses, because it was Zombie's first one, so it's got more of a raw, gritty feel.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember when House of a Thousand Corpses came out, and like it didn't get released for a while. Like I mean, if you've ever heard Rob Zombie talk about it,
3 years.
Yeah, he made it, and then people said it was unreleasable, and they just shelved it, never came out. And so when it did actually come out, there was so much talk about like this is the movie that nobody wanted you to see, and it's too violent, and it's too crazy, it's too weird. And so I remember when that movie came out, and there was a theater in Guelph way back when called 3 Star, and it was called 3 Star Theater, which is exactly what you think it would be. Like it's not a 5-star theater, it's a 3-star theater. But it was awesome. Like this floor was sticky, and like the seats creaked and stuff. But that's the only place that was showing it in like the vicinity. So we went to see it. So there was something kind of even more weird about seeing it in that theater rather than a Cineplex or like a bigger sort of commercial theater. It's sort of like this rundown, awesome little kind of theater in this. It was in a strip mall, and so it only had like about like 4 or 5 like theaters in it. But that's where you would go for like the really random, weird movies that would come out. And I remember seeing House of a Thousand Corpses and being like anxious to see it because I was like, am I even supposed to be watching this? So and I don't know, Captain Spaulding, first scene in the movie. So I feel like that's probably where my love for that character extends from.
I got to see Devil's Rejects in a theater like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and and you know what? He's Sid Haig's just as good in that movie too. Like, it's just a cool character. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel we'll get onto this a lot, right? But the idea of like taking an actor and melding it with a villainous character sometimes is just gold, right? It just works so well that if you put any other actor in that role, maybe it doesn't become an iconic persona, right?
And for a few drafts of my list, I had Otis from that movie on my list.
Okay, that's a good pick too.
Jason!
Hi.
Just in time.
Sorry. The wife threw something at me at the last minute.
Of course.
What I missed?
Well, you're just in time because you're up. We need your number 10. Benner's number 10 was Captain Spaulding.
Nice. Now, I kind of avoided including anything horror related specifically like that. I thought that was just the easy way out, honestly. So, this list is
interesting.
hard.
Yeah.
So my number 10 is Detective Alonzo Harris from Training Day, Denzel Washington.
Ooh.
Oh, good pick. That's a good pick.
This is how bad of a character he was. I hate that movie. I hate that movie because of Denzel's character and how he portrayed it. I hate that movie.
That says a lot for the bad guy. It really does.
He's just so slimy and ugh.
I completely forgot about that one.
That's a great movie. That's a great pick. That movie to me is like, I don't want to say it's like underrated, because I do feel like Denzel deserved he won the Oscar for that role that year.
Yeah.
But I do feel that movie deserves a second look for sure. It's such a layered and intricate film that that's a good pick. I had forgotten about him too. That's a great pick.
In working up this list, and I put him on there, like it made me think I do need to revisit it. I watched it that like one time shortly after it came out. That's the taste it left in my mouth, kind of thing. I feel like if I revisit it, my appreciation might change.
I just had an idea, because Ethan Hawke would be great for a top heroes list.
That could come up. I forgot to post these. Greg says, "Hey James."
Hey Greg.
But then he says, "House of 1,000 Corpses." He still has never seen it. Bring it next time you're up. Make this man watch that.
He doesn't like horror movies as a rule, with the exception of Shaun of the Dead. But
okay.
I like showing that movie to people.
And then he says, Ryan Haskell says, Spaulding is a hero.
The funny thing about House of 1,000 Corpses is it's left ambiguous until the very end whether or not he is a villain, kind of.
Who, Spaulding?
He's not a good guy, but you're not entirely sure that he's in on it until the very end. Because spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it in the last 20 years or so, but because you get the very end of the movie, he's driving the girl along, and then Otis sits up in the back seat at the last second. Yeah,
that is true. That is very true.
But they leave no doubt in Devil's Rejects.
Absolutely.
So my favorite scenes of Captain Spaulding are like I love the fried chicken commercial.
Yeah.
1,000 Corpses. I love the probably my favorite scene with that character, I think, is in Devil's Rejects when he's stealing the car from the lady and the kid.
Oh,
I won't say the dialogue because it probably get me into trouble. But when he says he's got to go, he has top secret clown business to attend to. Right, that's probably my favorite. He's just so like that's he's just such like kooky, lovable kind of guy, and then he's just like an absolute like horrific monster. Like,
he turns on the menace like that. Yeah.
His final scene from 3 from Hell is spellbinding.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
What he was able to record for 3 from Hell is just amazing.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, James, what's your number 10?
Okay, this one changed about 15 minutes ago because I was looking through my collection on ones I'd forgotten. But I did Vic Deakins from Broken Arrow, John Travolta's character.
Oh, I forgot.
Because he turns pretty damn evil in that movie, but he is so cool.
Well, it's John Travolta.
Yeah, John Travolta, one of the coolest smokers in cinematic history, I would say.
But that was a very underrated film too, Broken Arrow.
I think it was John. I think it was it John Woo's second American film?
Yes.
Yeah.
After Hard Target.
Yes.
Hard Target is also an excellent movie. That's probably in my top 5 action movies of all time. Is Hard Target?
Wow!
So awesome / dumb.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Mullet.
And French Wilford Brimley for no reason. Like, why is Wilford Brimley in that movie, and why is he French?
And yeah, Creole accent. Yeah.
We were in New Orleans.
Cuz that's the answer to everything. Cuz. Let me see. My number 10. I went with this one just because this is one of the few villains, I think, that actually carried out his plan through the entire film.
Oh.
And James.
Go ahead. I might know.
What's your guess?
John Doe from Seven.
That's the one, John Doe.
He was on my list for a little while.
Yeah, he's on my list too.
Yeah, he actually succeeded.
My number one.
That's your number one.
Oh,
my number one.
I can't argue.
Truly terrifying, and yes, he wins in the end. That put him over the top for me.
Nice.
Because they introduce him really early. Like with okay, spoiler alert. There we go. Being the photographer. Yeah. You've seen him.
I got your picture, man.
Yeah, that's, like I said, it was the only one that I went through on my list that I saw that actually succeeded.
So I just watched Seven recently, probably like during quarantine. I think probably, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago, and that's a perfect movie. There's nothing, there's no line of dialogue that's out of place in it. It's a perfectly crafted film. It still holds up today. What's crazy is that a friend of mine hadn't seen it, so I said, "You got to watch this movie. Like, let's watch it right now." So we watched it that night, and it's crazy. So a couple of things. It's nuts that movie was made in 1994. I think.
I know, right?
Right. So it's like 25 years old. And also even weirder that Kevin Spacey is John Doe.
Yeah.
Because of how villainous Kevin Spacey, how villainous Kevin Spacey is as a fictional character on House of Cards was, and now how kind of villainous he is in like real life, because nobody really knows what's going on with that guy, and it's super weird, and it's like whatever. But it was even weirder for him to be cast in that role.
Yeah.
And like Jason said, like it's he wins in the end. It's a perfect plan that he has like kind of made. And it's just, I don't know. I love that movie. That movie's so awesome. Like everything about that movie is amazing. Like it opens up with that prologue. The title cards are.
Yes.
It's got a remix of Closer by Nine Inch Nails, who at the time I was like, I loved Nine Inch Nails at the time, and I still do. So the backstory of that is that there was supposed to be this big intricate title sequence where Morgan Freeman takes like the train back into the city, right? Because the city's never named either. That's one of the oddest things about that movie as well. So a lot of people think it's supposed to be New York or Chicago. But I think the writer said he based it off of New York, but I can't remember where it was filmed. It looks like Chicago more so, but
feels like
anyway, they had this big complex title sequence where Morgan Freeman was going to, like Detective Somerset was going to ride the train into the city and all this stuff, but they didn't have enough money to shoot it. So that's how they came up with this weird title sequence with all like the clippings and the weird photos of like deformed big babies and stuff like that. But it sets a tone for the entire movie. I love that.
Sure.
I love that film.
The end credits too, how they're backwards and go.
Yeah, they go down.
Yeah, and the ending song for that movie while the credits are going up is David Bowie. Heart's Filthy Lesson by David Bowie, which was when he was in his industrial kind of when he was kind of working and touring with Trent Reznor too. So I love it.
Interesting.
Okay, Mr. Benner, we're back to you for number 9.
Okay, so I had John Doe on my list. So should I strike that out or should I just mark it?
It's entirely your call.
There, I had it.
Yeah. Which one is any number is he for you?
Okay, so I had him at number 8.
Okay.
But I can substitute something in if you'd like.
No, don't worry. No. Yeah, I can keep your number 8. I will just bump it in. And we'll go with number 9.
Okay. So my number 9 is Alex from Clockwork Orange.
That was almost on my list.
Another one I forgot about.
It was like, I'll tell you why, because I feel like before anything ever got made that had, like, I can't think of any movie that was made before that really had the villain as someone that you liked as a villain, but like you liked him aesthetically, but you hated him morally, right? And that was one of the first movies, I think, at least. I mean, I'm sure there was others, but the first one that I ever watched where they kind of took a villain that you hated and you were supposed to hate and turned him into something and someone that was kind of likable. Like you felt
little sympathetic.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And
then
McDowell, yeah, I mean Malcolm McDowell, amazing. He's one of the best villain, character actors like ever. I can't remember if that was his first movie. I think it was one of them though, if not his first. But I love that character. I love that movie, and I feel that movie kind of set the tone for a lot of films that came after it. So he's almost like instead of an anti-hero, I think he's more of like an anti-villain, right? But
and one of the all-time greats, final lines and shots. I'm cured, all right.
Oh yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it, but like, I love that. I love that flick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was really close to his first one.
Yeah, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe his first starring role. Maybe?
His first real credit, because he did a few TV series, but he was in a movie called Poor Cow, but they were deleted. And then there was a movie called If. And then next is A Clockwork Orange. So his first movie credit, he was deleted from. Man.
Suckers.
Jason, number 9.
Number 9, and I'll be surprised if he doesn't show up on other people's lists. Colonel Hans Landa, Christoph Waltz from Inglourious Basterds.
I forgot.
You're going to hear that a lot.
This list is incredibly hard. There's just so many great options,
Oh my goodness, that's such a good pick.
You honestly can't have a list like this without bringing up Colonel Hans Landa. He was just such a bad person. Yeah, he's just doing his job, but he kind of enjoys it, and
yeah.
He speaks 4 languages in that movie, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Christoph Waltz spoke all 4 languages.
German, Italian, English,
and French.
French? Oh, okay. Shoshana!
I actually forgot about that movie too. Okay. James.
Oh, okay. This one got changed because it's a movie I started watching today, and I forgot how awesome this character was. And evil. Oh my goodness. This is Amy from Gone Girl.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
She almost made my list.
I had forgotten about her. I'm like, how? Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. She is just she is so bad in this movie.
In a good way.
In a great way. This is another high point, as if they're not all high points from David Fincher. Well, not all of them are high points, but
I don't think look at Fincher's record. He's got more highs than lows, I think.
I don't think
way
that guy
more
has,
highs than lows.
Yeah, I don't think that guy has a lot of bad movies.
No, I mean, like, you can still find cool parts in Alien 3, and Panic Room is a very well done movie, but after like Fight Club and The Game and Seven and stuff, you're looking for a twist or a surprise thing, and there really wasn't one. So it was an unfair stereotype or pigeonhole that he got put in, but it's a very well done movie. It's just it's hard to pick when all his movies are way up here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that high.
Anyway, Gone Girl is so good, such a good movie, such an awesome villain.
Also, a sweet tie in there. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross from Nine Inch Nails actually did the soundtrack for Gone Girl.
Gone Girl, and
I didn't know.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and Social Network.
Social Network.
Yeah,
Sure.
those guys.
Amongst
Those
other
guys.
things. They've done a lot of other things too, but yeah, they usually always work with Fincher. Yeah.
Dr. Stevel says Hans Gruber. That name might pop up later.
Oh, gee, I wonder on whose list. Huh?
I'm just guessing.
I'm looking for. Okay, right way. There we go.
Yeah. So my number 9, and I haven't seen this one in a long time, but the guy, he stood out only because of his iconic roles. But that role still, I remember him so vividly. It's Norman Stansfield from Leon the Professional.
Oh, he may have been considered. I did think of him for a second because Gary Oldman is just the man.
Gary Oldman is just amazing in whatever he does. And that role, man, like I said, I haven't seen it in forever, but when this list came up, it's like, okay, I got to watch that again.
Anyone ever listen to the commentary for Dogma?
I don't listen to do the commentary tracks very often.
It's one of the funnier commentaries with Kevin Smith and Ben Affleck, and you've just got the part near the end of Dogma where Ben Affleck, like Matt Damon says something, and Ben Affleck just turns over, he's like, "Do it!" And Kevin Smith's direction to him on like how he should react and turn and yell at him was like, "Do it like Gary Oldman from The Professional," where Gary Oldman is like, "Everyone."
Which one? For commentaries, and again, we're on a different tangent. What were the Jawa creatures in Spaceballs? What were they called?
The Dinks.
The Dinks. That's it. There's a commentary on the special edition Spaceballs by the Dinks.
I have that. Is that one your helmet is so big edition?
Yep.
I have that.
And literally, the whole commentary is ding, 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 ding. That's the entire commentary.
I still think one of the better ones is on the Bubba Hotep commentary, Bruce Campbell as Elvis doing the commentary.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, sorry, tangent over.
No worries. We get down these little rabbit holes.
Squirrel.
Now we go to 8. Benner, you said you were John Doe on that one?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll jump to Jason.
Again, he'll probably show up on others' lists, but I had to go with Dr. Hannibal Lecter.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd like to too.
Oh,
he has
okay.
to be on the list somewhere. Like, come on, it's Lecter. He's a terrifying human being. He's so methodical and so smart about everything he does. It's just, what's not to love in a villain, honestly.
Or an anti-hero when you get to Hannibal.
And see,
Let's not talk about that.
That's what I was looking at.
That's the best one.
Ignore him, Benner. When you look at Lecter, though, in
It's gonna
Silence of the
boot me from the room.
and Red Dragon, he's only in it briefly. Like, he's not the villain.
But
No.
he's enough of a villain. That's how good he is and how strong he is as a villain, that he steals the movie.
He does.
Also won the Academy Award too for best.
Exactly.
Supporting actor, right?
Yeah.
There hasn't been very many villains in film history that have won. I got a couple on my list, but there hasn't been very many that have won for the villain of a film. Right? It's usually a hero or an anti-hero, or someone dramatic in a dramatic performance, but not necessarily like a horror. And Silence of the Lambs is again, what's funny is I watched that movie. Like, I watched all 3 of the Anthony Hopkins Silence of the Lambs movies in quarantine, and those still hold up too. Like Silence of the Lambs was made in like 1991 or maybe 1990, and the amount of movies it influenced, like for instance, like there wouldn't be 7 if there wasn't Silence of the Lambs. Like, the only way that 7 gets made is that Silence of the Lambs is this big cultural hit. Like, it was a slow starter, and then it became this box office hit, and then it won Best Picture. Did it win Best Picture as well?
It did really well.
Best picture, actor. It was the first one they said since One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest to win the big 5. It won director, picture, actor, actress, and screenplay.
Also, the best escape scene ever in a movie is in that film.
The shot of the guy up on the side of the cell.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I cannot argue any of these points. Yeah, and the tension it builds. We just watched them as well. I introduced Cam to Hannibal Lecter, so we watched Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, and then Hannibal.
Traumatized the kid,
right? But
Such a good movie.
That elevator scene, you're 100% right, Benner, because he's watching the guy on top of the elevator, and you could just see the light bulb flip on. He's like, "Wait a minute, that's not Lecter," and then it all unfolded.
How about the night vision goggle scene?
But that's with Buffalo Bill, though, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I know, but for the movie as a whole, the atmosphere.
Oh, right, yeah. But also the villain, Buffalo Bill doesn't, because spoilers, but Buffalo Bill doesn't get out of there, but Hannibal Lecter basically wins, right? Like he escapes.
Yep. I'm having an old friend for dinner.
Yeah.
Yes. You said that was on your list, Benner. What number was that?
Number 6.
Number 6. All right, I'm going to drop that in.
Nice.
All right. So, James, number 8.
Okay, number 8. Say what you will about the director, but Jonathan Brecht's portrayal of the Creeper in Jeepers Creepers is still pretty damn impressive.
Okay.
If you get the special edition, if you watch his audition footage of just him, no makeup on, going into a room full of people and doing the Creeper, sniffing and examining people, is just creepy as hell. That guy comes through the makeup.
And see, I do remember watching that film and being totally freaked out by him the first time I saw him. Like that one shot where they're driving down the road and he's tossing the body into the...
Oh, he just stands there, Adam. You can't even see his face.
Yep.
Well, that, and you also get the whole where he's whistling the Jeepers Creepers theme and tosses the body in, closes the door, comes back, tosses the head in, and he's awesome. He made that character.
Yeah. I wish I could watch that more. Okay, number 8. This one's a big departure from the titles we've been talking about, because mine's from The Patriot. Colonel William Darlington, Jason Isaacs in The Patriot.
He is bad. He is evil.
He is so evil in that film.
He kills Heath Ledger.
Right? But it's cool because that one got me interested in the history of the people.
That just reminded me of another one I forgot about. I don't know if anybody is going to put him on their list. Tim Roth from Rob Roy.
Guess we'll find out.
Oh, okay. But yeah, excellent pick.
Yeah. You come to find out the actual Colonel Tavington was nothing like that. Like they never did any. He didn't set a church on fire. He didn't.
Well, yeah, but Mel Gibson's character wasn't exactly pure as the driven snow either.
Yeah, but that movie, yeah, I love that movie. Okay, number 7, Benner.
Number 7. So this is why I wore this shirt. Leatherface.
Nice.
Leatherface, and honorable mention at number 7. Leatherface's family. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre is probably the first one. Is probably it's probably my favorite horror film of all time. I think it had the
Are you talking about the original?
Yeah, the original. Yeah.
Okay.
It's to me, that movie is just everything that horror should be about, and what it spawned. I think after that too was super important, but also what a crazy villain, right? A guy that just, you don't know what his mental capacity is, but he has a giant chainsaw and he's going to cut up people and hang them on meat hooks and stuff. I looked at this list as kind of sort of roles that there might not have been anything that really came before it, or it's someone that's taken a role that other people have done and done something crazy with, right? But for Leatherface, I feel like it's such an awesome, it inspired so much horror, I think, afterwards. We say, oh, a giant guy picking up people and putting them on a meat hook. It's okay, well, nowadays, we've seen all that 100 times and it's been ripped off and mimicked and paid homage to over the years. But when that movie first came out, what a terrifying thing, right? And I always remember when I was a kid, like the giant door that or that's in the house and stuff, like the big door where that's where Leatherface takes everyone to cut him up and stuff. Like, yeah, creepy, right? Like, and it's like terrifying and horrific, and yeah. So I'm going with Leatherface.
That's awesome. I didn't even think about Leatherface, but yeah, that fits perfectly. Real quick, Ryan Haskell's got a couple here. He said Castor Troy.
Oh,
I didn't think of.
damn it!
Neither did James. And Anton Church.
Oh my God!
Yeah, from No Country for Old Men. Also won the Oscar. That's one of the guys that won an Oscar for.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh man. Okay, Jason, what do you got? Number 7.
For my number 7, Anton Chigurh.
Oh, look at that.
Nice.
Yeah, that just that was the first time I had ever seen Javier Bardem. I don't know if he'd done much prior to, but that was my first introduction to Javier Bardem, and that dude was terrifying.
Yeah.
And like just describing what he was doing with that air pressure thing.
All credit to Javier Bardem too, to be that terrifying of a villain with that terrible of a haircut.
Were you going to say anything to him about it?
No.
Exactly.
I love that scene in that movie where he goes into the store.
Oh,
he has that conversation with the general store. Like it's an old guy that's working the general store, and it's like that's a great scene for creating tension. What's going to happen? Is he actually going to kill this guy? And then he flips a coin, right? Like I don't know. That scene for me is fantastic.
That's one of the best villain scenes, period. I think. And
I would mirror that scene with Josh Brolin's wife near the end.
Mm-hmm.
I got to rewatch that. Dang it.
Yeah.
Okay, James, number 7.
Oh, number 7. Okay. Number 7. I was trying to think of a clever intro for this, but I can't really. It's just, I think this is such a neat movie and a great way to end like phase 3 of the MCU. This was Quentin Beck from Spider-Man: Far From Home. Jake Gyllenhaal, I just thought knocked it out of the park with his portrayal. You put an Oscar worthy, like an Oscar caliber guy in that kind of movie, and he's gonna nail the villain role every time.
Okay, yeah, I can't argue that one either. That's a good one. I didn't even think about that.
He was in the consideration.
And when I wrote him down, I thought of, well, what about Nightcrawler? But I don't know. I like this. I just love him in this movie so much. Just the way he's like, oh, I'm gonna take over the Avengers. I'm gonna save the world, and it's just like, this is all fake. He's really on the other side of this.
I just rewatched that. I caught the last like 3/4 of it on one of the movie channels last week, and particularly the scene after it's all said and done, and he convinces Peter to give him the glasses. And as soon as Peter leaves, they drop the illusion, and he just goes from this hero mode into total asshole mode.
Will somebody get this suit off of me?
Hey, this is a Disney movie. He went to dick, not asshole.
Okay, sorry.
That's right. My number 7, one of my favorite movies, and luckily the historical accuracy was pretty good for this guy, but it's Commodus from Gladiator.
He was on my list. He was on my list for a while.
Yes. Joaquin Phoenix, man, that guy, I love the stuff he does. And for this role, the creepiness that oozes out of him, especially when he's hitting on his own sister.
Oh, yeah.
And threatening her kid right in front of her.
Oh.
Like, dude.
That guy's always been a great actor. Like every role he's ever done. I mean, the roles that I've seen him, he operates on a different wavelength. I think normally, I think when you're looking at him or see him in interviews, he talks. It's like he's shy, but also he's like introverted and extroverted at the same time. It's very, very weird interview when you see him interviewed, but he's done fantastic roles, like iconic roles that'll be remembered forever. That being one of them.
Yeah, you're 100% right about the interviews, because you sit there and watch how shy he is and how quiet, and you're thinking, how is this the Joker? Or, or how is this Commodus? The Commodus wouldn't care, but that's just it. This is him. That's how good of an actor he is. He can change himself.
I just watched the Master, which I hadn't seen, and I picked it up cheap at a store. I saw it on Blu-ray, and I love Paul Anderson movies, and I love Philip Seymour Hoffman. So I grabbed it because I figured, like, oh, I've heard lots about it. I just missed it, right? And Joaquin Phoenix in that movie is he's phenomenal. Like he's basically a piece of garbage, right? Like that's the role he's assuming, and yeah, he's something else in that movie too, right? Which is weird, because you see him interviewed and he just seems like such a nice guy, and he takes on these pretty complex, shitty roles, right? Of like horrendous people, right? So
there's the one You Were Never Really Here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that movie is so good.
That's just it. I'm not fond of that story, but I've watched it 3 times just to watch Joaquin's performance.
So
and his epic beard.
Yeah.
I felt like, okay, so this is going to be an unpopular opinion. And I know if like buddies of mine are watching, they're not going to agree with this, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think that Todd Phillips and the Joker, like the production team behind the Joker, I feel owe a lot to I Was Never Really Here.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I feel like a lot of the story points were like lifted from that movie, and they were like, what if we had $60 million to shoot this with? And that's, I think, what we got. But anyway, that's just my opinion on it. But
I see the similarities.
No one ever states unpopular opinions on this show.
I wanted to bring some controversy, guys. I wanted to get into the mix of it, right? Messing around a bit.
James.
Oh yeah. Well, so did I. So did I while you were talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that's why I did this.
Yep. Like I said, James says, thank you for doing that. That way he's not the only one. Number 6. Okay, so Benner, you were Hannibal Lecter on 6?
Yeah.
Nice. That is still a good choice. I didn't pick it because I thought he was more background, but you're right. He can't be all that background if he's that impactful in the film. So I do stand corrected on that one. Jason, number 6.
Agent Smith, Hugo Weaving from the Matrix trilogy.
Oh, nice.
I tossed that one around too.
Especially when you consider the whole trilogy and the evolution of that character. He doesn't evolve a lot, but what he does, he just becomes a bigger villain.
Yes.
He just, it's for lack of a better term, you're watching the evolution of megalomania. He just goes from being one small piece of the program to his own program, if you will.
And he even gets his giant maniacal laughter in the 3rd movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about him. That's another great one.
Okay, I'll throw this up here. Ryan Haskell said, he is on my current Mount Rushmore with Philip Seymour Hoffman and Daniel Day-Lewis as best. I would love to know which.
I think he's talking about Joaquin Phoenix. I think so.
Probably, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, both of those guys are amazing too. Okay,
add Gary Oldman into that list, and you got the perfect Mount Rushmore.
Add who?
Gary Oldman.
Oh, I love Gary Oldman.
Oh man,
nothing beats his Drexel. Nothing.
so Drexel, for me, Drexel probably would have been on the list, but because it was such a supporting role, I left him off. But
you gotta get us started on the True Romance quotes again, Rob.
Yeah, I love that film. It was a hidden gem for a long time before people got wise, right?
Yes. It's such a huge cast, too. Like, to try and put that cast together today, other than a couple of them are passed away, would be like the funds would be just astronomical to try and get them.
Man. Jeez.
Okay. James, number 6.
Number 6. This is another one I just changed today. Okay, well, let's just say it. Doomhead from 31.
Really?
Richard Brake, Rob Zombie's probably one of his best movies. It's just, oh my God. And he's got one of the best, he's part of one of the best intros to a horror movie ever. Just his face for like 5 minutes.
In black and white.
In black and white, telling him what he's going to do to you. And oh, so good. So good.
I felt that movie was its strongest when that character was on screen. And I wish he was throughout the movie, because I felt like I feel like that movie was a miss for Rob Zombie.
What?
But there was good stuff that was right there that I just,
oh my goodness.
Because the first 10 minutes of that movie, or 15 minutes of that movie, 20 minutes of that movie is amazing. It's amazing. And the last 10 minutes of that movie is amazing too. But everything, a lot of stuff in the middle is kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like Rob Zombie kind of just did whatever he wanted. And I feel like sometimes it's kind of like Tim Burton, right? It's like I love Tim Burton, but sometimes like when he's like right off the chain, he kind of goes everywhere, and it's just like
I feel that way. I feel that way about the entirety of Lords of Salem. I thought that movie. I didn't get that movie at all.
Let's just not talk about that. Let's forget that movie exists.
But see, I know I felt bad because I still haven't seen 31. But I know, right? Especially after I talked to Richard Brake. When I was talking with Richard, he said that was the best working experience because of how a kind of director that Zombie is.
That's your homework, Rob.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay. That might be the best I've ever seen Richard Brake.
Yeah. He said working with Rob Zombie was just amazing for that, you know. And actually I heard that from Tyler Main too when he was here for CKX on like working on Halloween. So it's got to be something to it.
Yeah.
I feel like Rob Zombie sometimes he writes characters kind of like Tarantino, like he writes characters for actors that he has in mind. So when you're looking at roles, like when I was talking earlier about, like, even when I was mentioning Captain Spaulding, like I wonder if that's where that started for that guy. Was that I'm going to write this role with Sid Haig in mind, and that's kind of how he got there, because I feel like that's how those actors are able to meld to those roles so well.
Well, that's where Tyler Main got lucky, because had Mukes not passed on Devil's Rejects, Tyler Main would have never been in it, and he would have never been Michael Myers, maybe.
That's true, and that's iconic for him.
Yeah.
My number 6, it kind of veers from absolutely everything we've all mentioned so far.
Oh, just wait till you see my number 1.
It's animated. And, it's The Lion King. Scar.
Oh, Jeremy Irons.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
I love that character for how evil he is.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
oh man, wow.
I rewatch Lion King whenever I can, and that villain, and I love the fact, the little Easter egg, if you watch Hercules, the pelt that he wears is actually Scar.
I heard about that.
Yep.
Is that true?
Yeah, because it's got the little thing on his eye. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep. I thought that was so cool. But yeah, that's my number 6. That's my guilty pleasure, is The Lion King.
No, can't discount it. He's a great villain.
Yes. Yeah, not, again, animated, not live action. Animated.
Doesn't matter.
Yes. Okay, number 5. Benner, what you got?
Okay, so I had a tie for number 5, because and I don't really care, because two of my off my list have already gone. But this was a hard call, and the reason I picked both of these guys is because they were, I felt like real life kind of villains, like real life, like you could meet these guys in real life, and they're not caricatures, they're not cartoons. But it was a tie for Jack Torrance from The Shining, and which is Jack Nicholson, obviously, and then Daniel D-Lewis as Daniel Plainview in There Will Be Blood, which I think both those films are phenomenal, like phenomenal films. One being a horror film, one being more of a drama, but both those guys, I think, those are two of the best performances ever as a villain, and as this these people that are irredeemable. And I do feel, even though, obviously The Shining, the original one, takes place in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, and There Will Be Blood takes place years and years and years ago. But I do feel like they would be real people that you would like, real life villains. So
every time I think of Daniel Plainview, I just think Bill the Butcher was so much meaner.
Meaner, but I feel that the movie is better, and I feel like I feel, well, I don't know. I mean, you could say he's meaner, but like at the end of There Will Be Blood, spoiler alert, everyone, but that when his son comes to see him again.
The bowling pin scene. Yeah.
Well, no, that's the preacher that comes to see him, but his own son comes to see him, and he's deaf, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, you're right.
And then he basically calls him, he's just a bastard, and he's a bastard in the basket, and he's just like, he's not even his son. And then you realize, like, if you watch that movie a second time, he just uses his own son, right, it's an interchangeable piece of currency for him. It's for him to manipulate other people. Like, there's not, like, I love that movie because it's such a study of human greed. Like, it's the perfect study of what greed happens to people.
Like how do you talk to your own son that way?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You make a good point.
No.
But I love that movie. And Jack Nicholson from The Shining, nothing needs to be said. I mean, he's just phenomenally evil in that movie. And like, there's that scene where his wife and his kid are playing out. I think they're playing out near the maze, and he's just like, just standing. It's like this slow pan close up of him just standing in this room going crazy. I don't know. I love that dude.
I can't argue that is a good pick. I didn't even think of that one, to be totally honest.
That's my only tie though, too, guys. But yeah,
that's a good tie. That's a very good tie.
Yeah.
Jason, number 5.
Howard Howe, the late great Michael Parks in the movie Tusk.
Oh.
How he lures Justin Long's character in, and then the switch flips and he just goes for it. And then when he's in hiding, his scene with Guy Lapointe, where he's pretending he's not Howard Howe. So he's got
the imbecile kind of.
Yeah, talking about the brown raccoon spider and stuff. Like, just he hit himself so well, and it's just, to me, some of the most terrifying things in films is the evil that men do. And as outlandish as it may sound, the thought of somebody being kidnapped and then being turned into a walrus surgically, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And that came from my boy Kevin. That's even scarier.
It's a dark movie. It is a dark movie.
And and Michael Parks just crushed it in that role. That to me is one of the scariest characters I've ever seen.
I gotta say, Parks is great in both of Smith's movies, like Red State and Tusk.
Yes, I actually had Aben Cooper as an honorable mention.
Nice. Well, you're right. Nothing scarier than the evil men can do, except the evil women can do. My number 5 is Annie Wilkes from Misery.
I almost put her on.
Did you just skip me?
I did. Yes. What's your number 5?
You can do it, and then I'll finish your thought.
Okay. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I was just loving that segue. I had to take it.
Fair enough.
But yeah, Annie Wilkes, and this is, like Benner said, that real person you could picture, getting help from her and it just changing into being hobbled and disabled and stuck in a wheelchair. And she does it all without swearing. That is the best part, I think.
Rob, have you read the book?
Yes.
Yeah, it's even worse than the book.
Yes.
She's horrible.
they go into graphic description of him like her chopping off his foot and stuff. Ugh.
It is a lot more deadly in the book, yes.
But
thinking about the sledgehammer scene just makes me cringe.
That sledgehammer scene, like in Misery, I feel like it owes a lot to like the shower scene in Psycho, where you don't. It's like it cuts away just a little, like a second before you see it.
Yeah.
So like the famous thing about Psycho is it's like you don't actually see anyone getting stabbed with the knife, right? There's no knife to skin or anything like that. It was just all psychological. And I feel like in Misery, it's like they cut away just before you know what's happening. I mean, I don't know who got the Oscar for sound editing, but they should have got it for Misery because it did sound like I don't know what like bones sound like when they're crushed with a sledgehammer, but I'm going to assume it sounds like that.
Sounds just like that. Trust me.
Yeah.
One of the other ones that I saw a movie like that was The Crow. When they're in Gideon's pawn shop. And for the longest time, I swore that he put his hand up there and Brandon Lee shoved the knife into his hand. And you got to visually see all that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back and watch it, you don't. You know, it's that implied stuff, just what you were talking about. You get it in your head. You've already pictured it. So now it's there.
That's the thing about, like, especially, I mean, just because I have a horror background, but I mean, that psychological horror is the scariest. And I think it's the most impactful, right? So, I mean, like when I was talking about The Shining, like I remember watching The Shining as I was probably maybe like 12 or 13. I probably shouldn't have. Well, I was probably 12. I probably shouldn't have watched it when I was 12. But I just distinctly, I mean, if you watch that movie, there's not a lot of like, there's like no gore in that entire movie. Not really. There's one scene, I guess, but it's mostly just like the isolation aspect of it. Someone going nuts, like. It's that psychological breakdown, and if directors are able to do that in an audience when they're watching a film, it's just like you mentioned. It's great, right?
Nice. Kenny Casanova typed in, "I love this." Apparently, he loves this topic.
I love that photo, Kenny.
I'm going to take a second to do a quick plug because Kenny and I and Ed are part of what we call COVID Con. You know, that Wrestle bookmarks that we did.
Yeah.
And coming up October 4th, we're actually partnering with the Cauliflower Alley Club because they can't do an actual presentation this year. We're going to be doing an online one again on the Fight Club as a pay-per-view, or on Fight TV. Sorry, yeah, don't talk about Fight Club. So if you want to see some cool interviews with some classic people, like I know a couple of the names that are on there, but I won't say until they're confirmed. But there's going to be a lot of cool interviews if you want to catch that kind of fun stuff. And with that, James, number 5, you know.
Number 5, my number 5 is, you could almost interchange this with the original, but I'm going with the remake because I like it better. John Ryder from The Hitcher. And this is the role that Sean Bean did in the Hitcher remake, where he's so cold and emotionless, and he literally wants society to destroy itself.
Well, it's Sean Bean. You know, that's another one of those actors that just kind of take over the role.
It just, his expression, I swear, the entire movie does not change. And it's, oh man. And just like he has the girl with the gun to his head and she doesn't pull, he's just like so disappointed in her.
Sean Bean also doesn't age at all.
No.
Go watch Patriot Games and then go watch like anything he's been in recently. Like go watch Game of Thrones season 1 or whatever. Like the guy doesn't age. He's like that age forever.
Literally.
Yeah.
I just watched GoldenEye. I introduced Cam to James Bond and boom, there he is. And I swear to God, there might be 1 or 2 extra wrinkles, but it is exactly the same.
Phenomenal skincare.
Oh, another villain I forgot. That was, he's such a good villain in GoldenEye.
This is why I love these lists, because you remember so many cool films.
Oh my goodness.
Number 4, Benner, what you got?
So number 4, I got to go with my boy Heath Ledger as the Joker in Dark Knight. I'm sure that's on a couple other lists. Maybe not. But
my number 3.
I almost did, but I'm just like, I can't justify putting him on this list when so many people like him more than the hero.
But that's
okay, so here's the thing with that is that your hero is only good as your villain, right? So if you don't have a great villain, in the movie, it hinders the hero, right? So
and he was on my list for the longest time.
and I'll give you
I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't do it. I didn't do it easily.
and I think as well, like I remember, so the reason he's on my list is because one, I do feel like he kind of wins at the end as well, like John Doe. Secondly, I feel to jump into that role, when he was at that point in his career, like we look back on it now, like, I mean, Dark Knight was made like 12, 13 years ago, right? Like it's an iconic film. To me, it is the high bar for superhero movies. It's the best superhero movie ever made. I think people have tried kind of to copy it. I mean, if you've ever watched, okay, speaking of Javier Bardem, if anyone's ever seen Skyfall is an excellent James Bond movie. Javier Bardem, great villain in that movie too. But Skyfall, the plot points are very, very similar to Dark Knight. Like if you watch both movies, they borrow, right? So, but also I remember when he came out, I was just like, Heath Ledger is the Joker, really? Like when that casting first got announced, and I loved Batman Begins. I thought Batman Begins was exactly what a Batman film needed to be at that time. And I remember thinking like, oh man, like I think that's a horrible choice. Like that's the wrong choice. Like
everybody did. Everybody thought it was going to be Brokeback Batman.
Yeah. And he hadn't. I mean, other than that, he hadn't really done a lot of like he'd done a lot of romantic comedies. He'd done a lot of other stuff that really wasn't high on anyone's viewing list, right? So I just thought it was like, and plus, like you're stepping into a role with Jack Nicholson. Like Jack Nicholson is the Joker. I mean, I know there was the other guys that played the Joker, but everyone associated the Joker with Jack Nicholson. That was the guy. And Jack Nicholson, as a person, is a legend in his own right. Made like massive shoes to fill, and for him to be a better Joker than I think Jack Nicholson. I love Jack Nicholson, Tim Burton's Batman. Don't get me wrong, iconic villain, all that stuff, amazing. But I think the best Joker of all time is Heath Ledger, and that's because he was. And this is kind of when the film was made, right? It was made in 2008 and in 2007, 2008. So obviously underlying undertones of him being a terrorist and whatnot, but like still like stuff when he says, do I really look like a man with a plan? And really the whole movie is a plan, and the whole movie is like not to take down Batman. Batman's like out. Sorry, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen The Dark Knight, but the plan. Everyone thinks the plan is to take down Batman when it's not. It's to take down Harvey Dent, which is like Gotham's soul. Right? Amazing.
Who I also considered for this list.
Oh, Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face?
Yeah.
Also, but Dark Knight, I mean, Gary Oldman's in that movie. Everyone's in that movie. It's an awesome flick, front and back. But that's, for me, I just feel like as a villain, and I needed one superhero villain on my list. So it had to be Joker for sure.
Someone did an article that I absolutely love, and they break
One
out.
sec. I'll be right back.
Okay, they break out the Jokers because you have your Jack Nicholson, which is like a crime lord Joker, but then you have Heath Ledger's, which is like an anarchy type Joker, and then Cesar Romero is your clown prince of crime, and then like they break them out as different types of Jokers. But I think you're right. Heath Ledger's was more modern, it was more realistic, and it was more of what you would see if a person was to become that.
Like in the comics, right? Like he's a madman. Like he's an insane psychopath. Like he kills children, he kills innocents. Like he's a horrible murdering, whack job, right? So to break that down and give it some sort of like theme, or give that character an arc where it's like these are the reasons behind it. It's like there's reasons and there's not reasons at the same time. I mean, I don't know. It's a brilliant script, and so I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I know Heath Ledger passed away and stuff, and I always wonder what if he hadn't, how Dark Knight Rises would have been crafted. But I mean, again, and he won the Oscar for it, and after he passed away, but I don't know. I just think it's an iconic performance, and one that I don't think has been surpassed since by any comic book movie as from a villain point of view.
Jared Leto?
He did a great job.
I feel like he was a little bit hamstrung by that movie, but
Yeah.
and I feel like I mean, don't get me started about Suicide Squad. It was like one of my most hated movies that year, but
What?
yeah, awful. Anyway, but I mean, because it was
from someone who likes Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It was edited.
Sorry.
It was edited like you could tell it was edited by a studio and whatnot. So I just feel like, I mean, there's all this stuff that came out that was like Joker was gonna, Jared Leto had all these other scenes, and he filmed like 6 times more stuff that was actually included in the movie, and they cut it all.
Yeah.
And, like, there was times in that movie where I was like, I don't know, am I supposed to feel bad for these characters, or am I supposed to laugh? Like, I didn't even know how to react. Plus, there was like that. I don't know, the villain, don't get me started. I'm already started now.
He had the same thing that Heath Ledger did with Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson had the iconic role, and Heath Ledger stepped in. Now Heath Ledger's got this status, and then in comes Jared. So you have got shoes to fill, not just Heath, but Jack's as well. And I don't think he ever could have lived up.
I like how you went the gangster route. And the tattoos I thought were cool. It's just my opinion. I thought he was a cool, different Joker.
Dude, and that's the fun thing about this show. Everyone's entitled to opinion no matter how wrong you are. Okay?
Until they shut your mic off.
That was an act.
Look, I've made it clear on this podcast many times. Jared Leto's Joker was good, but he wasn't actually the Joker.
Yes, he was. No. The director is discounting your theory.
I don't care what the director says. I don't care what the director says. But I believe in my heart is that was the Jason Todd Robin who had suffered severely and took on the persona of the Joker. I stand by that theory, but in my heart, that is the case, and that's why I can enjoy that role.
The clues were there. They set it up. But anyway, off the Suicide Squad diatribe. Jason,
where are we? Where?
You guys let me know if you guys ever have a podcast discussing only David Ayer's Suicide Squad, and if you need a fourth participant, I will gladly join again. Multiple points.
We'll do an old school, like high school debate.
Nice.
Okay,
right.
Jason.
Number 4, Nurse Ratched. Louise Fletcher from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Wow.
What an evil bitch.
I was so disappointed with this movie.
Oh,
really?
she's just so, the things she does to those people is just wrong on so many levels.
I've not seen that since like forever ago, so I could not comment on that one.
It's been a while.
Worst nurse ever.
Yeah. Hence the term Nurse Ratched, right? I mean, a lot of people called like a mean nurse.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a part of popular culture, right? So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
That is true. Just before we get to James, Mike Thane commented in, and I completely forgot about this.
Oh,
Mike Thane says, I'm still waiting on Drownsman's pictures. No rush, just reminding you all while you're there. Remember, Benner, I'd asked you for pictures of the Drownsman bad guy because he wants to make a figure.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we got to get those to him.
I will say the cinematography in Drownsman was pretty damn impressive.
Thanks. I didn't do it myself, but
I had a question for you.
Sure.
As a fan, do you have a favorite of one of your pictures?
Ooh.
If you were to look at it from a fan standpoint, being completely like, I take myself out of the managerial or something role, like which one do you like the best, or do you prefer not to play favorites?
No, I'll play favorites. It's hard. It's hard to pick one because I do feel like with Chad and Cody with the stuff that they're doing is they seem to they're getting better and better and better as filmmakers. Yeah. So they keep expanding their palette as far as stuff that they're trying. I mean, The Drownsman, I think, especially was a movie that had great intentions behind it of trying to create a new iconic villain, right?
Yeah.
And I wish they had made that now, because they've got a bit more money to work with now. The budgets are a bit bigger. They've got access to union talent and that sort of stuff. But I mean, I would say personally, I'm partial to Let Her Out. I like Let Her Out a lot. Just because it's just got such a gut punch of an ending that's just, I remember seeing it for the first time, was crazy. And I'll Take Your Dad and The Oak Room. Those are the two most recent films. So The Oak Room is more of a dramatic thriller, and even I'll Take Your Dad is more of a supernatural thriller.
Yeah,
that's one Rob's talked about a lot. I'll Take Your Dad.
So it's kind of like a genre mashup, and I feel like it works really, really well. And it's interesting. Like, I mean, I've seen so many movies and I watch so many screeners and that sort of stuff. Like, it's cool to see something that's new and that's fresh, and it's not just pumping my buddy's tires either, but it's just it's commendable to see something that's doesn't feel like I love stuff, and the same, like, I'm a huge music nerd too, so this is the same thing where it's like I love hearing like influences on people's work, not necessarily just complete copies or rip-offs of people's work, right? So there's a difference between someone saying, I'm going to write a song that sounds like Metallica, right? As opposed to like someone says, oh, I really like Metallica, and I'm going to write my own song. Because the influences will come through no matter what. And that usually results in a more original and artistic work. So,
yeah. You got to say.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying, I didn't mean to derail the show. I just had to ask him that.
Oh, no. That was a great question, actually. Let Her Out has one of the best edits that I love out of almost any film I've ever seen. And that
The fight?
Yes. Because she has these blackout periods, not to give away a lot of plot. And the edit is literally from one moment to the next where she's on top of her friend. Mm-hmm. And you actually get disoriented. And you're just like the character in that moment. I thought that was a beautiful edit because it puts you in her shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So now that we're on that one, number 4, James.
Oh, is it me? Okay. Now I'm glad that this choice wouldn't have existed had the movie not been made, but thankfully it did.
All of our topics, actually.
Well, no, because this would have been just a TV show character, but they got the cast back together and made the movie. This was George Hurst from Deadwood the movie.
Okay.
Gerald McRaney. That character of George Hurst was such a bastard in that show, and they bring him back for the movie, and he's still a bastard in the movie. And for a guy who you see in most movies, Major Dad and stuff, is such a nice guy, and this movie is just like, oh my God, he's evil.
I can't look at Gerald McRaney without thinking about Simon and Simon. I can't. It's bad, I know, but I can't.
James, would you consider Al Swearingen then like an anti-hero or an anti-villain? Like
anti-hero because he's a very questionable character, but he gets more on the side of Bullock as the show goes on. Yeah, very much anti-hero. Especially when you watch the movie, it's like everyone over here, and then there's Hurst and his thugs.
I love Ian McShane. I think he's like he's always good. Every single their television is amazing.
And now I just remembered another villain that I could have put in there. One Ian McShane as Teddy Best in Sexy Beast, and
great movie.
Ben Kingsley as Don Logan in Sexy Beast.
That's the guy I forgot. Yeah. Don Logan. So Ben Kingsley. So I shouldn't take credit for this because a buddy of mine said this, but like I saw Sexy Beast, I loved it, and my buddy watched Sexy Beast by himself, like independently, and loved it as well. And then we watched it together once because he's like, you're the only other person I know that loves that movie. So we watched it together, and he said that it's like as soon as Ben Kingsley comes on the screen, you know he's just a piece of work. Like you know he's just a son of a bitch. Like.
Man!
like as soon as he comes firing onto the screen, like I think he's walking through an airport. I think that's the first scene, and then he travels all the way up into the Spanish countryside to come see what's his name? I can't remember, but
Ray Winston's character. I can't remember his name.
And the first thing he says, again, I won't say it on a podcast, but
you can't say most of his dialogue on camera.
First thing first words of dialogue out of his mouth after this trip up into the Spanish, Spanish mountains, I guess. It's like, wow, like this guy is an absolute piece of work, right? But yeah, I had totally forgotten about that movie.
Yeah,
that one out. I've never seen it. I've heard of it many
Well,
times.
it's not on Blu-ray.
So good.
It only got like a limited Blu-ray release, I think, through Olive Films. So it's really, really hard to find on Blu-ray. It's on DVD, and I don't know if it's on a streaming service, but it's highly, I highly recommend it. It's like it's like a British gangster movie, but not really, like, if that makes sense. It's kind of like like a half Guy Ritchie movie crossed with like something else, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, some of the most foul-mouthed dialogue you'll ever hear come out of Ben Kingsley's mouth.
Interesting. This comment following Deadwood. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see. My number 4, it was mentioned before, Hans Gruber from Die Hard. Like,
right.
Eloquent, badass robber on the planet, you know?
I give you the FBI.
Some of the most quotable lines in any action movie was probably like the first, I don't know if it was the first time, but it was up there as a time when a villain sort of like had this awesome dialogue that was juicy, but it was do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't too cartoony, but it was still funny. Like, he was like a suave sort of, you know, kind of likable villain, but clearly the villain in the movie. And that's another reason where it's like, you know, Die Hard movies. I have all the Die Hard movies. I love them all. But number 1 is always the best, because number 1 has a great, like, it never in any part of that movie are you not cheering for John McClane. Do you know what I mean? But you still love Hans Gruber, and that's a good movie, right? Like, that's how you create that shit.
Like you said, you need that bad guy to have a great good guy.
Yeah.
I love that line of dialogue. I love it when he comes out, and Hans Gruber, when he comes out and he's just killed
Takagi. I was literally just thinking that line.
And he says to the crowd, he goes, "Unfortunately, Mr. Takagi won't be joining us for the rest of his life." Like, I watch that movie every Christmas. I don't care what anyone says. Die Hard 1 is a Christmas movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, there's Christmas music in it, and Christmas tree, and
so that's Christmas. And I'm with you.
And it takes place on Christmas Eve, right?
And we're 3 years in a row now, Cam and I, watching it on Christmas. So it's a Christmas movie. Number 3, Benner, what you got?
So number 3, okay, I'm going to preface this by saying there's a lot of horror icons to choose from. Obviously, I mentioned Leatherface earlier. It's one of my favorite all-time horror movies. A lot of people would pick Michael Myers. A lot of people would pick Freddy Krueger. Both great choice, or Jason Voorhees, great choices. But my all-time favorite horror icon is Pinhead from the Hellraiser movies.
Oh, he almost made my list. Almost.
Again, it's just like Doug Bradley as Pinhead. It's like one of those roles where like he's such a perfect fit for that role. I don't know why. Like, I've met Doug Bradley in real life. He's like this, sort of like
lucky.
He's kind of like this. I think it was his birthday yesterday too. And it's like he's this kind of like low key English guy. Like he like he looks like pissed off all the time, but then he'll crack a joke, so you never quite know. And I just saw him at a convention. It's not like I'm best friends with him or anything, but in that role, he's just so awesome and evil, and like it's like his evilness is a calculation. It's like a math equation, right? It's like he doesn't matter. He's just there to collect. And he's just, I remember watching those movies when I was in high school, and just like, so he's just so like, you just never know. You just all he talks about is like torture and pain and suffering, and he's just like this crazy weird character, but he looks so cool. My favorite scene of Pinhead is in Hellraiser 3. There's a scene where he's in the church and he starts pulling the pins out of his head.
Oh no,
on the end, and like he makes this about basically like God and religion while he's in this church, and it's awesome. And anyway, so that's my choice. He's my favorite horror icon. So he had to be on the list somewhere.
I think James agrees with that one.
Oh man,
I love the fact, like you said, like it's almost mathematical in his processing. He is taking your pain and discomfort, translating it into their pleasure. And you can see that calculation going on because he wants to make sure he gets the maximum pain and discomfort for you while getting the maximum pleasure for them and his group.
Like it's weird. He's not even really like he's not the main villain really in Hellraiser 1 either. And you could argue that he's not the main villain in Hellraiser 2 either. He's just kind of this peripheral character that just comes.
He's not even
right. Yeah.
He's not even called Pinhead in Hellraiser 1. He's just called Lead Cenobite.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And they just got Pinhead just as the but I mean he was in all the marketing as well, right, for that film. So
yeah.
But yeah, I love everything about him.
So good.
All right, Jason, number 3.
Number 3 was Heath Ledger's Joker.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Nice.
There we go.
So we've already lamented about Heath Ledger. So
yes. All right, in that case, James. Got it.
Okay, my number three. The character appears in 2 movies, but I only consider him a villain in this movie. In the other movie, he was just kind of doing what he was told. In this one, it is David from Alien Covenant.
Okay.
Like in Prometheus, he's helping everyone. He's just there to serve a purpose, but he's kind of doing what Wayland wants him to do. The company tells him to do. In Alien Covenant, he's flat out. He even says like, "Hey, humanity wants to start over, and I'm not going to let them." And he's just plain flat out evil in that movie. And Michael Fassbender's just hits it out of the park, in my opinion.
That is good. Like you said, the first one he's on autopilot. This one he's actually on his own accord.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't even think of him. We can skip over mine pretty quick because mine's the Joker from The Dark Knight.
Yeah. I wish I'd put him on my list. I just embarrassment of riches.
There's a lot to pick from. Don't worry. So Benner, number 2.
So number 2, it's funny that you just mentioned David from Prometheus and Covenant, but my number 2 villain of all time is the Xenomorph from Alien.
Ah, yes.
You can make the case that it's not an actor or an actress, but it's the scariest creation. It's the best monster that's been created in modern film. I can't think of any other monster that is better than the Xenomorph. The life cycle, like the way it's born, like everything about that creature is like crazy awesome. It's scary.
Zero emotion.
Zero emotion. Like it's got acid for blood. It busts through your chest and it incubates inside you, and there's something about like stuff growing inside me that I just don't like. Like I just don't like it's icky and weird for me. But again, it's just like, and also as well, like there's little. If you watch Alien 1, you haven't seen it in a while, watch it again because it's like the fact that the face hugger lives in the egg, and then it pops up and lands on your face, and then it coils its tail around your throat. So if you try and remove it, the tail will tighten and it'll suffocate the victim.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just amazingly scary. And every horror movie because I love sci-fi as well. And I love sci-fi horror. It's like one of my favorite subgenres for sure. But every time they make a monster in a sci-fi movie or a sci-fi horror movie or something like that, I always feel, or even a monster movie, for instance, I'm always like, I know, but like, no, I guess it's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's when I watched Cloverfield, I really liked Cloverfield. But I just thought the monster was just a bit like funny looking, you know? And it's like, they have a hard time. It's like, again, it's like, I feel like the benchmark for monsters is a Xenomorph. And ever since they put that on film, they can't create something that's scarier than that. So that's the pick. Xenomorph, or that guy in the suit that was the Xenomorph. Yeah.
And if you look at it too, like you were talking about, I would compare it almost to a predator because that is a scary thing to come after you as well. But like you said, the life cycle of that thing is thought out. Like you know exactly where it starts, how it grows, how it lays its eggs, and where it comes from. Predator is still, whatever.
Predator is just a breed of. It's just a society of hunters, pretty much.
Right. this, I agree with you, but I do disagree with what James said. You said zero emotion. No. They hate the word bitch. That's
well, at least the Queen does.
Yes, that's right. Other than that, I agree. Jason, number 2.
My number 2. This villain, fairly iconic, pops up in a few films. This is how bad he is. If you give him an answer he doesn't like, he'll choke you. If you disagree with this discussion topic you're having with you, he'll choke you from across the room. If you fail him in a task he has designed to you, he will choke you from across the galaxy. And if you steal from him, he will carve his way down a hallway to get it back.
Yes.
I think you know who I'm talking about.
Luke Skywalker.
Yes.
Close. It's in the family.
In the family, yes. Yeah, Vader had to be on the list. Come on now.
That's my number 2 as well.
And particularly for me, Rogue One just made him scary again.
Yes.
So, take everything else, but that Rogue One hallway scene is just made Darth Vader one of the most terrifying villains in movie history again.
And the thing that's crazy is that was an add-on. That was not part of the original script. They got near the end and wanted to do that bridge, so they made that scene.
And it's now one of the most remembered scenes of that movie.
So I heard what I heard about that scene was that originally in the script that Vader was like they wanted to try and keep the ending of the movie to coincide with the start of New Hope, obviously, right? Yeah. And so what I heard was the original version of the script, or I don't even know if they shot it or what, but what they were planning on doing is that Vader would be hunting these guys. Like they said, it was going to be like a horror movie. There was going to be hunting these guys around the ship to try and retrieve the disc. But then they decide, no, it's too off-brand. It's too for pacing issues and stuff like that. So then they shot the ending that's in the movie. And I listen, that ending in that movie in Rogue One is like phenomenally awesome. And I agree with everything you said, Jason, for sure. Like that, it's like it made him scary again, made him like this ultimate villain that you just can't fuck with. But also I'm curious to see if they shot it the other way, how that would turn out too, right?
I have to agree. That would be very interesting to see.
But I get what they're saying with that not quite being on brand, because how do you hide from a Sith Lord with the Force at their fingertips and you're in a confined space of a ship? You're really not hiding very well.
That's true.
But if you're going to use that logic, how did that guy get out the door? Vader should have grabbed him right at the beginning and hauled his ass back.
He was preoccupied with other stuff, with other people.
Yeah.
Slamming guys into the ceiling and stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it. Priority.
He's not good at multitasking.
Number 2, James.
Okay. Not everyone's a fan of this franchise. I'm a big fan of this franchise, and in terms of villains, there's only really a villain for, well, most of the franchise. But once I saw this movie, I thought this was one of the best bad guys. He's a step ahead of the heroes every step of the way. This was Owen Shaw from Fast and Furious 6, and I don't think it would have worked with anyone else but Luke Evans. Now, it doesn't matter that you find out he's alive in Furious 7, and it doesn't matter that he's kind of redeemed himself in Fate of the Furious. As far as you know when you watch this movie, he is the bad guy, and he's going to destroy you, and you can't stop him until the very end.
Interesting.
And it just the way he carries himself in the movie, like you don't get close to Owen Shaw unless he lets you, and like he gets to the end, he's just like he's captured and he gets set free. He's just like, you, like I said, you weren't even in the game. You're so below me that you don't pose any competition to me.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that.
It's all on Luke Evans' performance. Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna rewatch that because I gotta be honest, I don't remember that movie. Which isn't a good sign. I know I've watched them.
That's like most of the Fast and the Furious movies, right?
It just kind of blur.
No, I'm pretty sure there's fast cars involved.
Yes. Definitely Cars and Vin Diesel.
Hey, listen, if there's anything for that series, longevity. That's the best way to describe that series, because 20 years plus, man, it's pretty crazy.
That's one of the best series where you know what you're gonna get, so just go into the movie, shut your brain off, and enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's anything to do with that franchise at all. You're not getting Oscar performances. You're not getting anything to that level at all. But they're going to be stupid fun.
And watching Furious 7, it's okay to cry.
Yes.
I'm just waiting for number 10 when they're going to go be in space and Vin Diesel has to drift her in the space shuttle to dock with the space.
Right.
Every franchise goes to space, man.
That's right.
I know.
Even Jason.
Jason went to space. Hellraiser went to space. Leprechaun went to space.
James Bond went to space.
James Bond went to space. Mission Impossible apparently is going to space eventually.
I'm not surprised.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, number 1. Here we go. Benner, what's your number 1?
Okay, what was your number 2 for Jason? I mean, sorry, Rob?
Oh, Darth Vader.
Sorry, go. Sorry.
Okay, so a couple of honorable mentions before I get to my number 1. Dolph Lundgren as Ivan Drago from Rocky 4.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Also, you could say Mr. T as Clubber Lang from Rocky 3. Also a great villain. And also Kurtwood Smith, Red from That 70s Show as Clarence Bondinger from RoboCop 1, an amazing villain. I watched RoboCop at Christmas this year, and that movie is a fantastic film for obviously all the right reasons. But if you ever want to watch a movie for pacing, like especially an action movie for pacing, that movie is a perfect film. It paces. It's got an act 1, act 2, act 3. It's never ever boring. It starts quick, moves quick, and ends quick, but it always feels like a complete film. But yeah, I love that Clarence Bondinger eventually turned out to be Eric Foreman's dad in that show. He's also my favorite. He's also my favorite sitcom dad of all time.
Yeah.
Red Foreman. And yeah, my number 1 pick of overall for my top 10 villains was Darth Vader, because come on, it's got to be Darth Vader, right?
Yeah.
Being a little kid, I remember he was the scariest character I ever saw when I was a little tiny kid, and just always. I mean, every little boy that was growing up that watched Star Wars always, he always saw, you always saw Luke as yourself. You saw Obi-Wan as sort of like your dad or uncle or your parental father figure. Han Solo was like your crazy friend that you met along the way, and then and then Vader was this ultimate villain. Like Vader kills Obi-Wan in the very first movie you see him in. Yeah, like you said, Jason, he's choking people out. And he just, his arc is so awesome throughout the first 3 movies, the original trilogy. But so I guess he does redeem himself as well. If but we never stipulated that if that was criteria. But in the first 2 movies, man, he is pretty ominous and voiced by the amazing James Earl Jones.
I will say now I feel really bad about not including him on my list, because apparently as a kid, according to my mom, I put on a Halloween mask of Vader, which I thought was cool. And when I looked at myself in the mirror, freaked myself out, took it off, and never wore it again.
See, that said something right there.
Traumatized.
Well,
yeah.
You brought up, the childhood, and as a kid, yes, Darth Vader, terrifying to see, terrifying to look at. But I, as a child, I think back the 2 most terrifying sounds that would instantly cause fear to me was da-dum, da-dum from Jaws and the from Darth Vader.
Yep.
Those were the 2 scariest sounds I ever heard in films.
No, you're 100% right. And but Benner, I would even say in the 3rd one, because that fight between him and Luke in the Emperor's throne room, So
the coolest thing about that scene, retrospect, is when Luke, he does kind of like a double somersault up onto this ledge, and Vader says, "Oh, I see Obi-Wan has taught you well," which is so awesome, because that's how Obi-Wan beats. It's one of the cool things about the prequels is how Anakin becomes Vader. But at the end scene where he goes, "Don't, Anakin, I've got the high ground," that's almost like a callback to Return of the Jedi.
I never caught that.
Isn't that cool?
Oh, that's amazing.
I saw that recently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nice thing about,
I know. Awesome, eh?
you know,
It like redeems, like, because Revenge of the Sith is the best of the prequels, right?
yeah.
But like, and it just made it's like it's like that's the movie they should have made. It's like I almost feel like Revenge of the Sith is the movie they should have made to start the prequels, right? Like, I feel like if you had gone into the theater and been like, okay, I hope this is good, and seen Revenge of the Sith, I think people would have walked out being like, Star Wars is back. But
it's interesting because that prequel trilogy actually covers 3 different genres, I think. You've got your first one, which is your heavy drama, because it's all political. Your second one is a war movie. And then the third one is an action.
Yeah.
So it's not even the same genre across Star Wars other than sci-fi.
I just I started watching, like I bought the new Blu-rays that came out. They're all recolor graded, and I watched a little bit of the prequels again, and time might have been okay to them, I think, maybe in some respects, because I haven't watched them a whole lot, so we'll see. But I just remember Attack of the Clones being like super boring. Like it's
the
slow
slowest
movie.
Yeah, it is the slowest movie. And it's got one of the weirdest scenes in film history too, because you show the clones and it does a nice pan shot across the clones and they're eating off of empty plates.
Really?
Yeah, if you
I
want,
never noticed that.
Yeah. all the plates are empty. And it still blows my mind that got through editing, you know?
Well, it's funny. It's like they only shot those movies at 2K, right? So the best they're ever going to look is 2K. Like they'll never be 4K good.
Yeah. Well, you can upvert them, but it'll still.
It won't be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
That.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry.
No, that's good. Jason, you had John Doe.
Yep.
Yes.
Still. Yep.
James, number 1.
Okay, well, this is another one that no one is going to have on their list or ever consider, but ever since I saw it, this was one of my favorite villains in a movie, and this was Jacob Kell from Highlander Endgame. I just thought Bruce Payne was such a menacing Highlander villain in this movie. This was the 4th Highlander movie for anyone who's actually seen it.
Yep.
And just the contempt he has for Connor, Duncan, for any other immortal. He doesn't care about the game. He doesn't care about the rules. And he's got way more kills than anybody else. He's more powerful than anybody else. And it wouldn't be as good if it wasn't Bruce Payne. I know that, but he's just always been one of my favorite on-screen villains.
Interesting. I got to admit, I don't fully remember that movie except watching it because Edge was in it.
Oh yeah, briefly, yeah. That was a marketing point.
Yeah, that was legit the only thing I really remember from that movie. But see, the whole franchise has bugged me since number 1 because you can't have a sequel when there can only be one.
There can only be one.
And he won.
And what about Clancy Brown, man? Like, you mean you're gonna leave Clancy Brown off the list too?
I wouldn't consider Highlander 1 one of my favorites. It was pretty good,
awesome,
but
yeah, that movie's amazing.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is amazing. Yeah.
Do you see why we shut his mic off a lot?
Clancy Brown, Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery, and Queen. That's a good movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
excellent film.
Now you understand why we shut his mic off a lot.
Censorship.
No. That's a movie villains. Mine. Now, I was actually shocked with myself when I didn't pick Darth Vader as my number 1. Because
I was surprised.
Did you do Palpatine?
No. And the only reason this guy made number 1 was because I can see his point of view. And to me...
Oh, he's going to do... Oh, I almost put him on my list.
That makes the scariest villain you can have is if they're driven by the same goal as you.
Oh, I wonder if this is who I think it is.
In comics, it's Magneto. because he wants to protect mutant kind just like everybody else. He's just got a little way to do it. And in this one, yeah, it's Infinity War, Thanos.
Yeah.
I was wondering if Thanos was going to pop up. Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't pop up on
putting him
more
on my list. I really debated. It was tough to not put him on.
Very close.
Like this guy, he wants to protect people by reducing people so that the resources are still there. So you can't fault him, except he keeps snapping people out of existence, which is considered bad.
Yeah.
So he was great. And Josh Brolin, again, like another great performance as well. Like, and I mean, I think that I really do love the Marvel movies. Some obviously a lot more than others, but I do always feel like they have a bit of a villain problem, where again they don't have these iconic villains that trade off. I think the best Marvel movie they ever made was probably Winter Soldier, because Winter Soldier was like the coolest villain. But Thanos is like when Thanos starts showing up and starts smashing shit. Like one of my favorite scenes in all of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is when the start of Infinity War. Sorry, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Infinity War, but like at the start of Infinity War when he fights the Hulk, and he basically just pounds the Hulk into nothing. Like he breaks Hulk, right? Like he hurts him, and it's like that's how you create a moment, right? Like that's awesome. And then automatically he's just he's throwing Thor around, like he's basically like the Hulk and a god, and he's just they're nothing to him, right? Like, yeah, he's a great villain for sure.
That's the perfect opening. Like you said, you get him coming up, and then the Hulk jumps out and just starts wailing on him, and you're going, yes. And then the guy goes to step in, and his buddy goes, no, let him have his fun. And you're like, what? What are you talking about?
I think you can't remember if he punches him in the solar plexus or he hits him on the like right.
I think he gets him up here somewhere.
But Hulk he cries out, right? He goes like, and he says something like that, and it's like oh my god, because you know how powerful Hulk is. Like nobody can destroy him, right? So, and
that's that right there. To me, that's the best opening. When you're expecting him to get his butt kicked, and he just turns around, like you said, and wipes the floor with these guys.
It's the I can't remember their names. The brothers that directed that movie.
Anthony and Joe Russo.
Yeah, the Russo brothers. Listen, they directed all the best Marvel movies. Maybe Iron Man 1 is up there for being the first one, but I mean, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's very many that top those movies. They're definitely in the top 10 for sure, all four of those. So
absolutely.
Yeah. No, this was a great list, man. Benner, thanks so much for coming on and doing this.
Hey, no problem,
guys. Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys too. Awesome.
Yes. So let me get everything ready, because I think this is it for another week at the Movie Madhouse. I'm Rob.
I'm James.
I'm Jason.
I'm Benner. I'll see you whenever.
See y'all. James.
Oh, toodles.
Shut up!